Almost.
All right. We're ready to go.
Hello.
We're warmed up. We're warmed up. Coffee with coaches. I'm Heike.
Water.
Got my coffee, got my water, because you always got to have your water. And I got Shannon with me here again today. So Shannon, let's go.
Embracing change.
Ooh.
Sounds easy.
Oh, it's super easy. We're done. Just embrace it.
Just embrace it.
Well, it's actually not. No.
Not easy.
Not easy. I definitely had a hard time, and I had to embrace change, and it took years. Embracing change took years, but now we both know so many great strategies that we want to share in our call today, because you can definitely implement strategies and embrace change much faster. It's a skill, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to make it easier. We're going to make it easier.
Listen, I was the queen of not embracing change. And it's funny because this topic has come up in conversations with my friends so often recently. And it's like, we have to embrace change. It's literally part of our life. And if we don't change, we're not growing.
Yeah. But you said a good thing too. We have to, because why? Because everything is changing. Our world has changed so much with technology and how things are done. Workplaces have changed completely. It's not how it used to be. And even back then, I think 100 years ago, people needed to embrace change. But
well, they were changing every day, right? They were walking.
Things are changing a whole lot faster nowadays. And so we need to embrace, that's one level of embracing the change, right? We have different things coming up, like, we had COVID. We needed to adjust that. That was a big change, big uncertainty, big change. So
I thought that was an interesting time because I had just become a coach. And I had just really dived. I don't know.
Don't ask me.
I had really gotten into personal growth, and a lot of personal growth is about change and accepting change. And so when COVID hit, I was in the depth of learning how to deal with change. And I feel like because of that, I didn't struggle as much. It wasn't as difficult as I think it was for a lot of people, because I knew that change it's important, and we can't control everything.
No. And actually that's one huge part of one strategy. I'm going to throw one out already. One strategy is to look at what can you control and what can you not control, right?
Right.
And there's plenty during pandemic we couldn't control, but there's certain things, if you really focused on the things that you can control, it keeps us actually more grounded. And I know we love to share a little science part here, because the brain, how it functions is it predicts. It's constantly trying to predict, is what we're doing safe or not safe? And during pandemic, that was really, really hard, because there was so much unknown, so much uncertainty. So our brains had a hard time predicting. And so that's why it kind of also derailed to a degree, I think, because it was just so all over the place. And the people that really went through it, focusing on what they can control in their small environment that kind of cramped down, right? What can I control, and how can what I control make most effective and efficient for me? Meaning I implemented a lot of meditation at that time. So I like that too, which is also a huge part of embracing meditation. There's plenty of research out now, rewires our brain. So by being more mindful and practicing also meditation, it does have an impact on the brain and can help us in embracing the change. So
it helps you rewire those neural pathways, right?
Correct. Rewires neural pathways. And so those
I always ask, because we forgot to introduce ourselves, but I work with women who are struggling or healing after a miscarriage. And what I had to realize, and what is a hard thing to realize when you're going through grief, is there's not much we can control. There's really not much that we can control when it comes to a miscarriage. So I always ask, how can what can you control? And, they can control how they, show up, mainly like how you show up. How are we going to accept this? How are we going, you don't want to embrace the grief, but how are we going to work through it? And that's, I think, a really important question is, how are you going to show up for this? Like, how can you embrace this change, and how can you show up for it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And again, that part is the hard part, right? Because taking this away from what I came from is I struggled with my health due to chronic bladder infections. So that kind of derailed a lot of things. And it was very hard to not get angry about it, but actually having to adjust my days accordingly where I'm at this point. So that, I think, is where the crux is on when we say, oh, embrace the change. But what does really embracing mean? Let's start there right now. And really what I think it is stopping and really with meditation, with mindfulness, with gratitude, I think is a huge one. To sit down or walk, whatever, but take a moment and really evaluate where you at right now and be honest with yourself. Because I wanted to do so many things, but I couldn't because my health wasn't up to par. And because then I had all these, it felt like there's a difference between the brain, what it wants to do, and the body wasn't quite up to par. And it was totally out of alignment. And I know that's a lot of clients I work with, they struggle with some health issues. And it's just, there's an imbalance between what the mind wants to do and all these grandiose ideas, but the body really can't do it. And it wasn't until I really worked really hard identifying what is it how do I feel? Like I would get angry and I'm like, okay, I got to stop being angry because angry doesn't help me. Being angry at my situation doesn't move me forward. So how can I get and get over or reframe anger? What kind of thinking, what kind of beliefs, what thoughts do I have in my head? And then I started reframing them. And, when it comes up, I would go, stop. Okay. There's no point in angry. Today I feel like this. I use also a scale to rate myself, how my energy is. And you know what? Out of a scale 1 to 5, when my energy is 2, it's okay. You know what? You can do with energy 2. You can only do this. And
to remind yourself that you may be a 2 today, but tomorrow you might be a 5. And it's, for me, it's reminding myself that, okay, today I may not have it. Today it may not, I might not have that energy or that focus, but I know there are days when I do. And to prepare for those days. So I know when those days come, I'm going to get a lot more done. And I have to remind myself on those days, okay, I have a lot of energy. I'm super focused today. I'm going to get a lot of stuff done, and I'm going to get it done because I know I'm not going to feel like this all the time. Just like I need to remind myself that when I don't feel energetic, I'm not going to feel like this all the time. It's temporary.
Yes. And what you just said is so good, because I ended up having a day A and day B, depending on how I woke up. And
I love that.
That's how I started really embracing it. That day A was, if I'm waking up, I'm a energy 4 or 5. I'm good. And I could do the day how I would love to do the day. And of course, we all would love to have the days like that every day, but it's not happening. Let's face it. Most of us can't run on full high level all the time. Now we can learn with other strategies. That's what we do in our coaching to get to a higher performing level. But I had then plan B. That was my day, my schedule. If I did not have the full energy, and it definitely had an extra break in there, and it definitely had an extra, either meditation, or I know journaling we talked about a lot.
Yeah, I was going to mention
Really
that.
balancing the day very differently on I called them the B days.
Yeah.
The backup plan. And that helped me, though, slowly learn to really change my mindset, and not be angry, but just being realistic. This is how I feel today, checking in with myself, and it's okay, and not beating myself up, and actually understanding, you know what, I'm grateful that I can do these things that are on my B day. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I still celebrated and said, okay, I got my B day done.
Yeah.
And it's so important to really acknowledge yourself, what you got done, particularly when there is a change that is very difficult. The little small steps matter. So oftentimes breaking it down really in small steps, that's what I ended up doing, right? Instead of having huge project, I broke it down. If I get at least a little bit done, celebrate myself for that. And that's what really starts the momentum more in a positive way. And helps us to embrace change, let's say a little easier.
Yeah. I want to go back to the gratitude, because I've talked about, I was very dedicated to my gratitude practice, and I believe that helped me embrace change a lot easier. And I'm sure there had something to do with neurochemistry there. I'm sure there was something, but it really helped me when things were difficult. Having the gratitude practice helped me embrace anything that was different, anything that was changing, because I could see the things a little more positively. I'm not saying that everything was perfect. I'm not saying, it's all rainbow and sunshine, but I have not been doing my gratitude as much, and I can see a difference.
Oh yeah.
And I keep telling myself I need to get back on it. And I think it'll help when new things pop up, or when my energy is drained. I really think gratitude is a huge game changer for embracing new things in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that is a good foundation for shifting the mindset, because often
It's good to have in times like, you want to start it before things are bad, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's a practice. So we're practicing, right? It's still a practice. We want to do it and have it in our what's the word I'm looking for? Habit.
Routine, and
Yeah, it's a habit that we're doing.
Daily routine.
Yeah, and have that so that we're doing it daily, and so that when things are difficult, we can turn to that routine and that habit and find some good things.
I do not remember what study it was, but I know there was a study out there that you even if you practice gratitude, and when we talk on practicing gratitude, it's not like just saying, oh, I'm grateful for
My health.
my husband, my health. You got to connect it a little bit more with the emotions. You have to really take a moment and feel that gratitude, and really
I was listening to a Huberman podcast and he was talking about the studies that show the gratitude practice does work. But the key part of the gratitude practice is, I always say, right, try to find 3 to 5 things from the last 24 hours that you're grateful for. But the key thing is to take one of those things and to write about it so that you actually feel the emotion. Yes. So it's not just simply sitting down for 3 minutes and going, okay, I'm grateful for the sunrise, or I'm grateful, it's like really feeling the emotion.
Connecting it to your heart and your feelings, and really even closing your eyes. I sometimes visualize. So closing your eyes and visualize the gratitude for something, even pictures, let's say grateful for my husband, then, closing the eyes and really revisiting moments that were joyful, that were really special, connecting that then we're really talking about effective gratitude practice when we're talking about rewiring the brain. And when you do that kind of gratitude practice, there's another research out that I wanted to say. They found out it lasts for 3 weeks. So even if you do a really strong, strong gratitude practice, you don't have to do it necessarily every day. There is an impact that lasts actually for 2-3 weeks. So I still love doing it every day because I think
it's a good habit.
It's a great habit. And
and it teaches you to look for the good things.
Yeah, I mean, it changes, and that's what I wanted to come back to. The mindset matters, right? We need to have a growth mindset, meaning we need to really look at the things that may be challenging or not going quite the way we had anticipated. We need to look at those things and more in the glass is half full, not empty, with what can I learn from these situations? Not like, why did this come at me now? Oh, everything is terrible, but really looking at it as, you know, what can I take out of this? Yes, it's a challenge. Yes, it's a curveball, whatever, you know, the change is, but shifting it to what can I take out of it? How do I need to adjust to that? And what do I take out of it eventually for learning? And paying attention to the positive things. So when you said the gratitude practice is a foundation, it is, because we learning how to look at things that we're receiving as more positive. And so that helps us to really adopt more a positive growth mindset. So when there's challenges coming up or changes coming up that because by the way, we're talking mainly about the more changes. The positive changes are most of the time easy.
Those are.
Right?
Well, it does depend. I mean, I was going to ask you, have you noticed a correlation? I'm sure there's a study out there that I could have looked up, but I didn't. Do you think there's a correlation between people who are unhappy and people who don't accept change?
Oh, absolutely. There are studies out there. Now I can't name one right now either, but there are studies.
When I think about my own personal, like the people that I run into or, you know, friends that I talk to, where I think of that person is having a real hard time accepting that this is going to happen. And they're really angry about it. And it's like, okay, I can understand that you're angry and this is going to happen. So you're going to
there's no choice.
Let go of that. Yeah, there's no choice. So let's find something good about it, or let's learn to embrace it and see what happens. Maybe it won't be that bad.
Absolutely. And what we're talking here about, really the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. There's plenty to where there's tables that show it, but a fixed mindset is really like not accepting the change, right? Just living and seeing what you have now, and you want it to stay the same, and anything that's coming in is a threat. And so when we have a fixed mindset, it's really hard to embrace.
I was queen of fixed mindset. I was like fixed mindset, like 100%, until I learned about growth mindset.
I have expectations in this way, and it needs to work out this way, and it becomes very different. Life becomes very.
It's a hard way to live. It's a really hard way to live.
So it's really identifying, and by the way, sometimes, because I've had fixed mindsets too, even though I think in the majority I have a growth mindset, but it's in some areas sometimes we can have a fixed mindset, in some other areas we have a growth mindset. And it's when it comes back to, we talk and embracing, it's about really checking in with yourself and recognizing, am I kind of like in my little path here with a fixed mindset? Because I definitely was in a fixed mindset when it came down to how I'm going to deal with the lack of sleep and the health challenge I had. Versus on the other hand, I had a growth mindset in that as well, because I constantly worked on finding solutions and moving forward. But in certain areas, we can have a fixed mindset, and in other areas, we can have a growth mindset. But if we want to embrace change, we need to recognize when and where do we have fixed mindsets, when and where do we have limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
That's where coaching comes in, right? That's the coaches really help you
to be able to target it.
Well, target and the blind spots, right? The coaches
Yeah.
can help you with these, the seeing some blind spot perspective that you hadn't even thought about, or not realizing we all have limiting beliefs. And in some form, somewhere, a fixed mindset in certain areas. And that's okay. It's just a matter of identifying them. And a coach can definitely help. And then
teaching the tools to work through it.
Yeah, teaching the tools to get through, which is reframing, which can be, as we talked before, journaling. It can be gratitude practice. So many different tools that we can use to reframe beliefs, to change into living with a more growth mindset. And that is just really, it's a skill. It is a skill.
And there are tools that you can learn to help you with it. I mean, I'm like living proof that that you can change the way your mindset.
Yeah, exactly. So embracing change is definitely not easy, especially when it's a big change. And if anybody here listening may have been even still stuck from pandemic and all the super dramatic change we had there, it's okay. Just recognize now and start taking charge and moving forward. Consider it being over as far as that goes, and look more forward and not back anymore. We can't excuse everything anymore with the pandemic. Yes, the pandemic changed things. The pandemic had impacts, but we can't use it now as an excuse not to move forward.
Not to work on ourselves.
Not to work on ourselves. We can't say, well, since pandemic, now that's what I am. That's a fixed mindset. We need to really shift that and look more, what do I want? And that's another strategy, right? Looking to, how do I want my life to look like? What is my vision really for the future? Or what?
My favorite question is, what is worth fighting for?
What is worth fighting for?
I think I've said that before, but it really is, what is worth fighting for?
Exactly. And so looking more forward and identifying what's worth fighting for, coming up with a strategic plan and moving forward in that direction is one huge part of embracing change. We want to learn from the past, but we don't want to hang on to the past. And sometimes I want to note that, and with my clients too, when there's something deeper sometimes from the past, we may need different professionals, like a therapist. So that's okay, because if you have a hard time letting go of something in the past, and you struggle with moving on of some change that happened in the past, then recognize that you may need extra help, and that's okay. And oftentimes
I have many clients who have me as a coach and a therapist on the side.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm on the side.
Both there.
Both of us. Maybe we're just
it addresses different things. So as coaches, we take you really where you at today and move you forward. That's our job, right? We're moving you, we're analyzing and assessing where you're at now, and help you strategically moving forward to your future. And and we do talk about the past because we want to learn from the past, but if there's something really sitting deep inside that needs to, sometimes it doesn't, because in coaching, it kind of, I've had it too, it kind of, the coaching already helped to let it go, the clarity that's gained, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes there is something so traumatic that we do need other help. And again, it could be a therapist, hypnotherapist. I mean, there's lots of other professionals. It depends on the person who I refer to. But understanding we gotta stop looking too constantly back and taking that as our excuse, and actually moving forward if we want to embrace change. And again, embracing change does help us to live more fulfilled and happy life, because if we keep looking back, it's very hard to really keep a positive mindset moving forward.
Perfect. That's a perfect way to end it.
Watch some of our other episodes. We had a fantastic episode about grief and healing, because that is another traumatic event that happens, and it requires to embrace change. So if you're interested in our other conversations with Shannon and me, we had that fantastic episode. And until next time, having coffee with Shannon. And
Thank you. Bye.